whether you've been driving 2 years or 20 years, these events can happen to anybody if you're not being diligent, staying focused on driving defensively and properly. So first thing we want to talk about is our passing policy and expectations. The easiest way I can say this and shorten this up is do not pass unless it is absolutely necessary. Okay? Every time you perform a passing maneuver, you are creating an opportunity of risk or an opportunity for something bad to happen. So unless it's absolutely necessary, just do not pass. Okay? Avoid passing if at all possible. If you are going to have to pass, you need to ask yourself some questions and make sure that you're passing within A, the law, and doing it legally, and B, are you in line with our policy? First question should be, is it legal? Do you have a legal right to perform a passing maneuver? Are you in a legal passing zone? Next question is it safe? Typically here, you guys operate a lot of two-lane highways. We got to assess for oncoming traffic, the road conditions, the weather conditions as we're having today. Is the situation safe? My rule of thumb for any professional driver is if there's oncoming traffic, that should be an automatic no. Okay? We should never be trying to pass if there's any kind of oncoming traffic, guys. Okay? And then do you have enough time? We'll talk about that more in a little bit, but honestly, you should be able to perform a full passing maneuver in a full tractor trailer in somewhere between 10 to 12 seconds. If you can't complete that pass in 10 to 12 seconds, you shouldn't be passing. Okay? And then how fast you got to go. We're going to talk about that more here in a little bit too. But remember, that goes back to question number one. Is it legal? You cannot perform a passing maneuver legally if you have to exceed the speed limit to perform that passing maneuver. So the vehicle in front of you has got to be going slow enough to where you can pass with all those other things we talked about and still not exceeding the speed limit. So let's talk about some situations when passing is illegal, okay? Against the law. You could potentially get a citation if you try to perform passing maneuvers in any one of these situations. First and foremost, obviously, if it's not a legal passing zone. So if you have the double yellow line and you try to perform a pass, that's illegal, of course. I think we all know that. If the vehicle ahead of you is at or above the speed limit, remember, you can't exceed the speed limit to perform the passing maneuver. So if the vehicle in front of you is already close to the speed limit, you're breaking the law by performing a passing maneuver. Of course, we already talked about oncoming traffic, but legally, if there's oncoming traffic within 200 feet, you can be cited for performing a passing maneuver. Or if you're within 100 feet of a bridge or a railroad crossing. Of course, if there's a do not pass sign, that goes back to it not being a legal passing zone. You don't have enough time to return to your lane before the solid line ends. So maybe you started the passing maneuver in a passing zone. You had the dotted yellow lines. But if that zone ends before you've completed your passing maneuver, you're now doing an illegal pass. Okay? Some of these passing zones on these two-lane roads are really short. Okay? Those zones are really made for passenger vehicles, not tractor trailers performing passing maneuvers. So y'all got to keep that in mind. If that passing zone is a short one, or you're not familiar with that area, it's probably best not to perform a passing maneuver. If you're approaching a hill or a curve, or if there's a school bus loading or unloading children, those are all examples of illegal maneuvers while passing. These are some situations, while they may not be illegal, they are extremely, extremely dangerous, or they violate our company policy. Okay? Passing along line of vehicles. You look at our policy states that if you're passing legally and everything else is right and you can do so, you can only pass one vehicle at a time. You can't pass multiple vehicles at a time. These rules go for highways and lease roads. Okay? There's no difference between the highway versus the lease road. You still can't pass more than one vehicle at a time on a lease road as well. Okay? We've already talked about oncoming traffic. The vehicle ahead is near the speed limit. Guys, I think here in another slide, I may be jumping ahead, but the vehicle in front of you has to be going somewhere between 15 to 20 miles an hour below the speed limit for us to even consider making a passing maneuver. Because you're going to have to speed up that much faster than they are going to perform that passing maneuver in the 10 to 12 seconds, okay, without exceeding the speed limit. So we need to keep an eye on that, really ask ourselves, is that vehicle going slow enough for me to perform the maneuver? If they're doing 50 and a 60, you probably just need to tuck in behind them and take your time, okay? Now here's an example. Now I'll start this video off by telling you guys, our driver didn't really technically do anything wrong, okay? And if you'll pay attention, this vehicle right up here ahead, you've got a vehicle parked on the shoulder, their brake lights are on, they're engaged, and our driver's gonna go through here. Just keep your eyes on the vehicle with the brake lights. See him start moving. Now, the question here is, driver didn't do anything wrong. From a legal liability perspective, meaning insurance perspective, we're not responsible. However, this doesn't stop us from getting sued. This doesn't stop us from still being a six-figure either settlement or just that much money in legal defense fees that we're going to spend on defending our driver. Okay? We have to ask ourselves, could we have done something more to avoid this? Could we have recognized that situation in a different manner and said, okay, I don't know what this vehicle is doing. I need to take a little more extreme caution. Maybe I'll honk my horn to get their attention to make sure they know I was there. Okay? We have to do everything we can as professional drivers to avoid situations like that. Again, our driver wasn't in the wrong, but the question has to be, in this and any other situation, could I do something more to avoid that? Because regardless of our driver not being wrong, this very well still may cost us somewhere in the ballpark of six figures. That's the reality of it. Okay? So we have to do everything we can to look far enough ahead, pay attention to what's going on, and if we're not sure, the whole point here is, if we don't know what a vehicle in front of us is doing, even if he was in our lane, okay, we had another situation earlier this year, you know, car comes to a stop, we had a legal passing zone, our driver had the legal right to pass, okay, but we could have slowed down, we could have taken a little more time, we could have approached with a little more caution, and that driver turned right in front of us while we were going 60 miles an hour, okay? If we don't know, we got to take extreme caution, because again, it doesn't matter if we're right. Aaron Yeager's favorite saying, do you want to be right or do you want to win? Okay? And to win, we have to avoid being involved in this, okay? So how do we pass safely if we're going to pass? One, we got to confirm that we're in a legal zone and there's no dangerous conditions present. Verify our passing lane is clear and there's no oncoming traffic. We'll check our mirrors. Obviously, make sure we use our turn signal. Even though we're passing somebody, hopefully they're watching their mirrors, so if we use our turn signal, they'll know that we're signaling that we have an intention to pass them. We'll move in the left lane. Again, we got to accelerate about 10 to 15 miles an hour faster than the vehicle in front of us to perform that passing maneuver quickly. Make sure so essentially the vehicle in front of us has to go 15 to 20 miles below the speed limit, below the speed limit. And then make sure we got enough space to get back into our lane of travel. Okay? Almost just as important, if there's a vehicle trying to pass you, let them. Okay, that goes back to that legal conversation we had. Let them pass. Okay, it's not worth getting into a road race. It's not worth road rage situations where we're, trying to cut them off and make them tuck back in behind us, you're creating an unsafe situation not only for yourself but everybody else out on the road. If somebody's trying to pass you, slow down and let them get by you. Okay? That's just a safe thing to do. The other thing we want to talk about with you guys today is bad weather conditions. South Texas specifically, you guys can go long periods of time without any rain. So when rain does come, like it has recently, these roads get really, really slick, okay, because they haven't seen any water in a while, okay? Common rule of thumb, no matter what the weather situation is, we have to slow down drastically. Not a little bit, we have to slow down and go much, much slower in these conditions, and we have to drastically increase our follow distance, okay? Those are the common two rules of thumb you're going to see as we go through this. So slow down, increase what's our minimum following distance in perfect weather conditions? 6 to 7 seconds. So we need to double or even triple that depending on the weather when we're talking about bad weather situations. We need to drastically increase our following distance. Travel with our headlights on and avoid any kind of sudden braking or acceleration or making sharp turn movements. At the end of the day, guys, whether we're talking about rain, ice, sleet, fog, if you guys do not feel safe driving in those weather conditions, you need to use your stop work authority. Okay? Everybody has a different layer of comfort when it comes to driving in bad weather. Okay? Due to your experience, due to where you've driven, due to what kind of conditions you've previously driven in. If you do not feel comfortable driving in whatever the weather conditions are, you need to say something, and we're not going to force you to drive if you feel unsafe to drive. Okay? So don't be afraid to use your stop work authority if it's not comfortable. Again, these are just some tips on the different type of weather conditions. Again, all of them have a common theme: slow down, increase our following distance. And I will tell you guys, the professional driver, doesn't matter what the weather is, rain, even high winds, fog. When there's bad weather, do not use your cruise control. Okay? Cruise control is a great tool and it is your friend for fuel efficiency purposes, but cruise control should only be used in ideal, perfect weather conditions. Anytime there's bad weather going on, doesn't matter what that weather is, do not use the cruise control. You need to stay in control of your vehicle. Okay? Now here's an example. A few months ago, this truck, now you'll see the speed limit up there, 65 miles an hour on this road. The start of this video, the truck's doing right at the speed, just below the speed limit, right at 60 miles an hour. Now that speed limit sign in the video has a 1 to 2 second delay between any change in speed versus us seeing the change on the screen, okay? My point there is, you're going to see this vehicle start to slide, and right when you do, you see that speed jump up, which is an indication that he had some kind of increase in speed that potentially helped him lose traction, okay? So he's traveling along, 59. You can see there's a lot of water on the road. We should already be doing much slower than this. Jumps up to 62 and 65, okay? Okay. Again, we have to slow down much slower. I can't tell you what the right speed is. Nobody can. There's not a magic number of saying, hey, when it's bad rain, go 15 miles an hour below the speed limit. Okay. We as professional drivers have to gauge how bad the weather is. So how heavy it's raining, how hard it's raining, how much water's standing on the roadway, what the road conditions are like, what my tires are like, going back to my pre-trip. Okay, you have to take all those things into mind when you're making that determination. So I can tell you as a recommendation, automatically, not knowing any of the factors, when there's bad weather, you guys should be doing somewhere probably around 10 to 15 miles an hour below the speed limit. Minimum. Potentially much slower than that. Okay. You guys, hydroplaning can happen at speeds as low as 35 miles an hour. A week after that video we just showed you, actually 2 days after that video we just showed you, we had another truck, 70 mile an hour zone, driver was doing about 40 miles an hour in the zone and still hydroplaned, okay? Luckily, nothing happened. He left the roadway, but no damage. He didn't hit anything or anything like that. But that's the point. It can happen at very, very low speeds as well, okay? So we have to take in all those conditions and pay attention to those. Avoid any sudden braking or sudden accelerations, okay? If you do start to skid, ease off your brake accelerator, hold the steering wheel firmly, steer into the skid, and don't let the vehicle try to naturally slow itself down before you hit the brakes. Because if you go to hitting the brakes right away, a lot of us know you just made the situation way worse, and you're going to make it uncontrollable at that point, okay? But really, guys, this starts at the pre-trip, okay? Today's a perfect example. It's been raining nonstop. These roads are wet, slick, okay? When y'all go out to do your pre-trip, y'all need to take special attention to your tires, your wheels, your brakes, okay? What is the condition of your tires? If you got low tread depth, if they're underinflated, okay? If you got patches in your tires from the caliche that maybe dug a hole out of them, all those are going to affect your traction out there on the roadway. So we have to do good quality pre-trips each and every day, but especially when we know there's bad weather going to be involved within our day, okay? Just a couple other announcements and kind of give you guys a heads up. We've got some DVIR training coming shortly. So I've been working for a few years now on trying to get us to an electronic DVIR process to where you guys don't have to fill out paper anymore. And we're finally got our integration with our maintenance software working properly. I'm working on the training right now. We're getting close to being done on the training. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing some training with you guys shortly on electronic DVIR process and what that looks like. But kind of give you guys a high level. Really the goal here is that you guys will submit a defect, whether a pre-trip or a post-trip. That's going to automatically create a work order in our maintenance software, and then it's going to automatically alert us to put it out of service so that planning cannot dispatch that unit, whether it's a truck or a trailer, until the defects have been corrected in the maintenance system. So it should drastically improve our maintenance process. Also, you guys, if you haven't seen it, there should be a link on your tablet, similar to how some of you guys have filled out incident statements in our new system, KPA. There should be a link there as well for the monthly fire extinguisher inspections. You guys used to do this in Smartsheet last year, but we've got the app uploaded on your tablet now. If you don't see it, let us know so we can get that corrected. But basically, we're asking you guys again at the first of the month, go to that KPA fire extinguisher app and make sure you're doing the fire extinguisher inspections at the first of each month when you're getting into your trucks, okay? And we just finished first quarter, so we've got our first quarter top drivers for South Texas to announce. So in third place, and the recipient of $500, we have Mr. Billy Burmia. In second place, and the recipient of $1,000, we have Mr. Charles Kidd. And in first place, and the recipient of $1,500, Mr. William Barnes. So you see those guys, congratulate them on a job well done. Like Jeff said, overall, we appreciate everything you guys do. We had a rough start to the year, this first quarter in South Texas, but good news is, so far in the second quarter, we haven't had anything. So we're starting off the second quarter great. Let's finish out the second quarter strong, and I look forward to talking to you guys next quarter and celebrating the win. So thank you guys.
Hey, one more thing real quick. I forgot to mention it when I was talking. Make sure you're paying attention to the driver efficiency scores. I know you've been talked to about it. What that is